What is your favorite type of Mario level? Desert, jungle, ghost, house? Mine's bridge. Welcome, disciples of the internet, back to me stuffing Super Mario World and Mario Maker 2. Just a quick little recap as always, in this series I'll be recreating every single level on a very questionable one-to-one basis in Super Mario Maker 2. As this is the fourth video of this series, this time I'll be covering the Twin Bridges, which is similar in length to a world from Super Mario Bros. On the NES. However, there are at least 6 levels, which is more than I thought there would be. Despite how small the Twin Bridges may seem, they have only 2 levels less than the smallest world in Super Mario Bros. 3 World 1. And if you want to see World 1 of Super Mario World and Mario Maker 2, click on the handy dandy reference card in the corner of the screen that will take you to said video. And one more absolutely shameless promotion before the video begins, make sure to subscribe and hold the notification bell for even more jelly-soaked content. Butterbridge 1. Starting on the top bridge of the pair, the Butterbridge, we see our first instance of how these bridges refuse to conform to any safety guidelines. After the bridge tries for 4 blocks and just stops, there are some new platforms where if you stand on one side, the other side rises. One of the few mechanics that utilize gravity in Mario Maker 2 is the seesaw. However, if there's ever a situation where Luigi needs to pass through the middle of the platform, stationary semi-solids are necessary. This doesn't fix every problem though, such as this 50 coin that is now practically impossible to collect, especially with the auto-scroll. The only enemies in this first level are Paracoopas, both red and green, but in Super Mario World they don't always obey the rules of how red Paracoopas fly up and down and green Paracoopas always jump on the ground. It's inconsistent. So for this level, every single enemy has to be a normal red Paracoopa. Butterbridge 2, the return of the Super Koopas, and since they are very important to the whole idea of this level, instead of just simply substituting them with Paracoopas, I created track arcs for every single flying Koopa in the level, and for the ones that grant a player a cape feather, they can be set on the same track one space behind the Koopa. Just before the checkpoint are some Koopas that insist on kicking away their shells at the player. It moves at such an arc that replacing them with a spike is not too crazy of an idea. The sub-area for this level features a long rope that the player can cling onto while moving up and down to collect coins. For some reason, vines are one of the few things in this game you can't put on a track, but the swinging claws are useful for delivering the player from one place to another. Sadly, it does make the gameplay a tad brainless as the player does not have much control over their position. Cookie Bridge area, now on to the second bridge with only one level to its name. Super Mario World has a unique chainsaw-shaped saw. Now that the saw is much wider, it does make the saw generally a tad harder to dodge, but considering how much easier the last level was with the predictable Super Koopas, this is a forgivable trade-off. And since Mario Maker 2 is a lot more stingy with the shapes of its tracks, most tracks will be lacking in an accuracy sense. The rest of Cookie Bridge area contains much more ropes, which are now swinging claws, so I will instead focus on the sub-areas. The first one takes place during nighttime and is auto-scroll, and because of length restrictions, I'll have to remove both of these features. This sub-area also has its own set of 5 dragon coins, but because you can only have 5 special coins in one sub-area, one of them will have to be forgotten. But the most interesting part of this area is how you're supposed to access it with these special wings that you can only interact with if you have a Yoshi. So I replaced this question block with a key surrounded by hard blocks, so the only way you would reach it normally is with a Yoshi. And in this area, the Yoshi is given the ability to fly, so I gave the player a clown car as clouds usually disappear after a couple of seconds. But there is one problem: there's no way to access a Yoshi in this level without bringing one from another stage. And I just spent all of that time designing this sub-area, so I will just place this here and we will never talk of this again. The next sub-area is bullet bills that shoot in 4 directions diagonally, so I cannot just reuse bonsai bills again, so spike balls on chains it is. Cookie Bridge area is also the only level in this world with a secret area, one that demands a strategic Yoshi sacrifice. So the goal is not placed here, but rather at the end of these 2 pipes. Soda Lake is a rather simple level with just a few cheap-cheeps and the addition of the Torpedo Teds, which are basically just bullet bill launchers that stick to the ceiling. Normal launchers don't have this ability, however cannons do, and there does have to be 2 cannons both facing different ways, as Torpedo Teds also have the ability to change their direction. However, even in a normal state, these cannons have a much faster fire rate than the TT launchers, so it doesn't take long for a copious amount of bullets to fill the screen. Coconut Mountain takes pride in its amount of semi-solids and Monty-Moles, and since not all of them can pop out of the ground, some get to do these little hops on these segments of tracks. Along with the moles are the Fire Sumo Bros, which yet again calls for Boom Boom. However, order to replicate the spike on the heads of these enemies, I gave them a spike top crown, however it can fall off quite easily. Before I get into the sub area, I want to mention this unique flying piranha plant near the end of the level that can also spit some fireballs, so I put 2 normal plants next to the jumping one. Sub area features the return of the porcupuffer, which I've been told a couple of times from the last video that putting a spiky enemy like a spiny or a spike top in a cloud works better than a normal cheep, mostly because they always stay at a firm point on the x-axis and chase the player relentlessly.
No matter how fast he ran, he could not escape the demon!
Ludwig's Castle, a gauntlet of 3 unique rooms, each with their own problem. The first is a corridor surrounded by darkness and 6 swinging spike balls, some of which are so close together that they will have to be moved around to avoid track interference. Also in this corridor is an insanely hidden fake wall that the player can traverse through in order to reach another 1-up minigame room. And now it is much easier to see where the gap in the wall is, which is a shame, as if you take this pipe you will miss the next major room. Welcome to the chain room, every block of which is covered in tracks and bullet bill launchers except for this area. Since on-off blocks are only interactable with track intersections, I just removed the tracks here to give the illusion that the player hit the block and the ceiling receded. The third vertical area features the return of the chain link fences, so if you've seen the first video, you already know exactly what I do for those. The boss battle against Ludwig is actually quite simple, however Ludwig no longer does that cool backflip shell jump maneuver. After disturbing the local wildlife at terminal velocity, Mario and Luigi can now move on to the Forest of Illusion. I do genuinely hope you've enjoyed my recreation of the twin bridges in Super Mario Maker 2, and if you want to view any other videos like this, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, but now it is time to move on to the ranking of these 6 levels. Number 6, Ludwig's Castle. Number 5, Cookie Bridge Area. Number 4, Butterbridge 2. Number 3, Cookie Mountain. Number 2, Butterbridge 1. And number 1, Soda Lake. Now that we're at the end of this video, I'd like to say if you've liked any aspect of this video, comment something down below, like the video, subscribe, and do all of that other YouTube shenaniganry. And if you want to view similar content or just more sleep paralysis demon fuel, stick around.